Well, US Attorney General Pam Bondi has released all of the Epstein files, including justified redactions and a list of high-profile names appearing in the documents. Joining me to discuss the fallout from the files in the US and the UK is Samara Gill, host of Triggered with Samara Gill on TalkTV. It's great to have you on the show, Samara. Thank you so much for joining me. Look, I've got the list of names in my hot little hand. And I've got to say there's so many of them. You've got even Pam Bondi herself is named, Cher, Jay-Z, Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Diana, Princess of Wales. And I guess this is a thing because we don't know the context. We don't know why they're named. There's also presidents like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. I guess my argument in this, Samara, is the Democrats have spent the past couple of months trying to pin down Donald Trump on this. Well, hello. The files are here. He's just released them. To me, he's been vindicated.
I think you're completely right, Danica. He is the one who actually did release them, and that's kind of what Pam Bondi was banging on about at the hearing just a couple days ago, because, you know, they were really trying to pin her on why was this redacted, why wasn't that redacted? And it's true. He has actually been the most transparent president of them all. He has done what he said he would do in his election promise, which is release all the files, and he's done just that. And yes, look, I mean, there were millions and millions of pages, and there was a lot of sort of disquiet and discomfort from within some of the political figures over there, because yes, there were some issues where names that were meant to be redacted weren't redacted. Names like Les Wexner, who was implicated in a child sex trafficking scandal, they had accidentally redacted that. So yes, I will say it wasn't the most sort of clean and concise layout of all the files, but my God, what a ripple effect it has had on the world. We've seen heads rolling from Westminster to Florida to Washington, to all over the world. So I just really do think that we should commend Donald Trump for actually releasing them and Pam Bondi for doing her bit and putting the pressure on.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to get into the ripple effect with you because you're right. It's been huge. And look, my argument is, I mean, Joe Biden's administration tried everything over the past 4 years to try and jail Donald Trump. Yet now they're trying to incriminate him for wrongdoing. Well, for what? They've spent years desperate to get rid of Trump in every way. Had they already had evidence, they would have released it by now. But they haven't done that. So, look, this is a real vindication of Donald Trump. And it's interesting because you mentioned that hearing, and watching it, it was like pulling your teeth out the way that the Democrats were attacking Pam Bondi. They were yelling and screaming, literally throwing the toys out of the cot. I thought it drifted into obsession territory, that they're desperate for a gotcha moment. So let's have a listen to this performance by Democrat Representative Ted Lieu.
These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General and set before.
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them.
What a spectacle, Samara. So, what an absolute spectacle. They made it some sort of theatre production all about themselves. Now, look, I'm not disputing the fact there needs to be an investigation, of course, but Donald Trump has also said the same, but they've turned it all into an absolute performance.
Totally. It was a psychodrama playing out on the political stage over there. And you're right, they just can't handle the truth. And they're actually undermining the entire situation of revealing the documents when they say, oh, this photographic these photos of Prince Andrew are evidence. Well, they're actually not, and I'm no defender of Prince Andrew, but they can't just start blaming because of one photo what's actually been going on. Of course, Andrew needs to be fully investigated, and I am behind that, but they're pulling at straws here, and they're basically trying to almost skip 10 different steps in order to try and pin the Republicans in order to actually go through the proper process. And it's quite crazy how Pam Bondi had to bat all these people off yesterday that were actually trying to undermine her efforts. I mean, it's ludicrous. The Democrats are just once again showing how deranged they are with the Trump derangement syndrome, that they just can't handle even when the thing that they want the most happens, they won't accept it. It baffles me, Danica, genuinely.
Yeah, look, it baffles me too. And in the end, it was Donald Trump that sort of raised the alarm in the beginning. I mean, he was warning about Jeffrey Epstein, and he was also saying, Ghislaine Maxwell, he knew from the beginning. He was warning police about this. So, again, you're right.
He's been cooperated, yeah.
Totally. Spot on. I completely agree. Look, we've got to talk about the man formerly known as Prince Andrew. And I want to start with on all fours Andrew, okay? Because this image, I have to say, look, you don't ever recover from something like this. It's ghastly. It's embarrassing. I mean, that's just putting it mildly. He has been troublesome for years, but my goodness, Samara, that picture, shocking.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me sick to think about the potential situation that woman must have been in. She clearly, looks passed out. I mean, the fact that people even thought to get a camera out in that situation and just start clicking just gives you a very healthy insight into exactly the mind of this sick individual that was Epstein and that was Andrew, who they were very close. I mean, there's no denying that. So, yeah, I mean, this photo that's come out, it's very revealing. But what's also been very big news over here is who was in charge of the payment. Now, there was obviously this payment that was made to Virginia Giuffre, rest in peace, who was one of the alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew, formerly Prince Andrew. And essentially what's come out is that the king may have potentially put money in for that. The queen obviously did, and Prince Philip. So there are big questions being raised about how culpable the royal family has been in covering a lot of this up. I mean, that photo, date-wise, was taken when he was meant to be a special trade envoy to the United Kingdom. He was meant to be on business, but he was not clearly doing that, or that doesn't exactly look like trade envoy relations to me. So I think that he should not be above the law. The police in his area are also saying that he should absolutely be investigated. But let's see, because unfortunately, the royal family and the late Queen, as we love her, she never really put a foot wrong, but Andrew was mummy's favourite, her favourite child, and a lot of this was covered up for years, and we're just hearing about it now.
Well, that's the thing. He was the favourite child. He was decorated. He was mummy's boy, and I love the late Queen Elizabeth, but surely she had to have known. There's no way in my mind that she was unaware of her son's activities. Which also brings me to the point of the palace, because there would have been staff there. They would have seen what was going on, the comings and goings within the palace. It was also revealed that there was a creepy code word that Andrew used when ordering palace staff to let a string of young women in for visits. Now, this is really shocking, Samara. He allegedly used a word. This is according to The Sun. It says that emails released as part of the Epstein files show several women entered the palace with the former prince's permission after being supplied by his pedo pal. They included a Romanian model and another from Russia, both treated to a private dinner while the Queen was away in Balmoral. Sources told The Sun a string of young women were invited to the palace by Andrew, and he made a specific paraphrase. So this paraphrase, Andrew is thought to have said to them, "Mrs. Windsor will arrive shortly. Please let her in and show her up." So Mrs. Windsor will arrive shortly. Look, Samara, again, palace staff, they would have seen the women coming and going. Surely they would have seen the sleazy behaviour, the seedy behaviour. They need to be interviewed, in my view.
Absolutely. But unfortunately, what were they meant to do? I mean, the issue here is, and Andrew Lowney, who's a famous royal biographer, writes about it so well in his book entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, which is a very, very good novel if you really want to delve into this, because it shows just how pompous and drunk on his own power Andrew was. He genuinely thought he was invincible and above the law and that he could do absolutely whatever he liked. And I spoke to Matt Wilkinson, who wrote that article for The Sun today when you sent it over, because I wanted to see if I could glean any more information off him. He essentially told me what was back in that article, but it's quite interesting, the point of the security issue there, because apparently, you know, there wasn't much security in place, and you would think that places like Buckingham Palace, Royal Lodge were very, very highly protected places, but actually, because this behavior was so conspicuous, he would sort of just get them in via staff entrances, get these women in via staff entrances, via back doors, without security checks, which is a massive national security risk, especially when we're talking about a lot of Eastern European women with, you know, potential ties to the Russian government. I'm just speculating here. But this is beyond irresponsible. It's irreprehensible behavior from Andrew, and he was able to get away with it for years. And I just feel sorry for those poor staff having to use those sick code names of Mrs. Windsor, which showed how much he just lived off that title. He really lived off it. That was his only cachet, his only trading chip for people like Epstein and others. So, I mean, you can hear from Virginia Giuffre's testimony within her book. You know, she said it was his princely right to have sex with me, or that's how he felt.
God.
That tells you all you need to know about someone like Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, the guy thought he was invincible. He thought, I've got all the power in the world. I'm a member of the royal family. I can do whatever the heck I want. It's just sickening. Look, let's talk about the fallout. And I will warn our viewers, a trigger warning, the next pictures you may find even more distressing. Here is Pantless Peter. Oh, dear. Pantless Peter, I know, isn't it? I mean, put some bloody pants on. Pantless Peter Mandelson, the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer's former US ambassador, pride almost on display, Samara, as he's pictured there in his underwear. Now, this was released in the latest tranche of the Epstein files and apparently taken at Epstein's apartment in Paris. Peter Mandelson called Jeffrey Epstein my best pal, even in a 50th birthday letter. And then there's this one, Mandelson in his robe. Good grief, having a good old chat with the sex offender. Look, between Pantless Peter, Mandelson and On All Fours Andrew, I don't know whose picture is worse right now, but we have a situation where Mandelson has been asked to give evidence at US Congress about that friendship with Epstein.
Yes, Mandelson is actually facing the full force of the law here. And that is sort of interesting because our Prime Minister, who very much was on resignation watch last week because he obviously appointed Peter Mandelson, this guy here, who I know in Australia it's probably like, who is he? But this is someone who was really behind our Labour movement over in the UK. This is someone who fostered a lot of the Labour kingpins that now run the country today. So he had a lot of power behind the scenes, and he was always dodgy. I mean, he'd been fired 4 times before by 3 different prime ministers. So he was always a dodgy fellow. And that's why people do question our prime minister's judgment in putting him in that ambassadorial role to the US. And that's now why Keir Starmer, our prime minister, has put a lot of pressure on Mandelson to go and do this. Now, it's a good question. What will come out of this? I mean, Mandelson knows exactly where the bodies are buried, so to speak, and, had a lot of skeletons in his closet himself. So we will just kind of wait and see what comes out of that. But at this point, he's got nothing to lose. He's lost absolutely all credibility. He'll never be allowed anywhere near Westminster or any sort of realm of power ever again. So I think in some ways he's been thrown thrown directly under the bus by Keir Starmer in order for Keir Starmer to save his position. But that was always going to happen with what came out in the files. But I just think that he could be almost like a live wire at this point. He could be a bomb that is not yet detonated, and who knows what he'll say.
Well, who knows? But yeah, you're right. I mean, he has nothing to lose right now, so why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? Get your popcorn ready, because God knows if he does actually appear at US Congress, what he might say. But what baffles me here, Samara, is that Keir Starmer still hired him, even though he knew there was enough evidence mounting that he knew of that close friendship with Epstein. And now, Keir Starmer's going, oh, he misled me. And Keir Starmer last week frantically apologising. You still hired him, you fool. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's inexplicable really to think about, but I think it's because of how much power Mandelson had over everyone within Labour. And it's interesting because Morgan McSweeney, who again is someone no one will know because he's an operator behind the scenes and not even people in the UK know, but this is someone who was the puppeteer of Keir Starmer and totally pulling all the strings behind the scenes. He was Keir Starmer's advisor. He's also had to go over this Mandelson issue. So essentially what happened was, against what the security clearances said, what MI5 said, what government security agencies, even the US had some sort of say in it. They all said, why are you making Mandelson the ambassador? For some unknown reason, Keir Starmer and his advisor totally overrode all that and wanted to give him this cushy job. And I think that's because they feel that they owe Mandelson something in some strange, confected way. And I just think that we need to be very wary in the future of these power players behind the scenes who almost treat countries as if they are their own cash cows, and make sure that they get these cushy positions, these coveted roles, and don't face any consequences for it. And in my opinion, that's what Mandelson, the former Prince of Darkness, as he was known around Westminster, really is.
Good. The Prince of Darkness. I mean, well.
Yeah, that could have been also something for Starmer to think about.
Hello. The warning signs are there. If that is your nickname, the Prince of Darkness, maybe just sit back and have a think. Is that the sort of person you want as your ambassador? Really think about that one, Keir. But no, not quite smart enough. Now, I want to ask you about Sarah Ferguson. Look, this is, of course, Andrew's ex-wife. She's in a world of pain over this. Now, we know from emails that she sent to Epstein that she called him the brother I have always wished for. She said, you are a legend. I really don't have the words to describe my love, gratitude for your generosity and kindness. And then she said, kiss, kiss. I am at your service. Just marry me. Even her daughters, they've been dragged in, including one exchange where an unnamed person mentions Eugenie's shagging weekend in an email to Epstein. I actually feel really sorry for her daughters, I feel like they are just carrying the burden of their embarrassing parents. But Sarah's now moved to the United Arab Emirates, so she's not making much money, but she's reportedly scouting around for a new PR team to represent her, saying that she wants to return to the UK. But what could she possibly do? That would be the question. If she goes back to the UK, she's an embarrassment. Her reputation's in ruins. So where does it leave her, really?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I've kind of been saying this for a while, but I actually think she's one of the biggest issues for the royal family at the moment, because she, again, similar to Mandelson, knows a lot of information and has nothing to lose. And she's money hungry at the moment. So I think that there will be an opportunistic book deal that potentially comes into play, where she'll be offered an amount of money for a tell-all book. We know that she's she does love something like that she can live off for a little bit. She will reveal certain things. She'll try and paint herself out as the victim, but she'll definitely throw a couple people under the bus. And I think that's what'll happen to Fergie, because we know, most of Andrew's issues stemmed from Fergie's insane, lavish lifestyle that she demanded. I mean, the credit card bills, millions of pounds in debt that she found herself in. I mean, the main reason, those very very famous paparazzi photos of Epstein and Andrew walking through Central Park in New York, that meeting was revealed to have been Andrew asking for money to pay off Fergie's credit card bills. So I think she should also testify in front of the Congress, and she should absolutely be talking to authorities, because I think she knows a lot too, but she clearly hasn't been sort of caught in the same line of fire as Andrew has. I mean, you're right, her emails are sickly towards Epstein. She loved the lavish lifestyle that he provided, so much so that, yes, I would say she put her daughters, who were not children at the time, but they were young women almost in harm's way, and met up with him after he was convicted of pedophile offenses. So Fergie, yes, she's gone over to the Middle East. A lot of people speculate Andrew will also go over to the Middle East. But let's see for them. I think the only saving grace for Fergie is that she was able to sort of have her daughters in a great position to socially mountaineer themselves up. And they've basically married very wealthy people that she could potentially live off. But she's homeless at the moment. She doesn't even have a house. I mean, she's been cut out. The royal family is not protecting her.
No, well, she's self-exiled. I mean, if you're going into the Middle East, you're self-exiling out of sheer embarrassment. And if Andrew joins her, well, gosh, I feel sorry for the UAE. Look, before we let you go, Samara, I want to ask you, where does this leave the monarchy? Is it over for them? Because have a look at this. This was the king getting heckled last week.
Charles, how long have you known about Andrew and Epstein? Have you been protecting Andrew from prosecution?
Yeah, look, it's uncomfortable to see that. It's uncomfortable to watch, but this is not a good look for the monarchy.
It's really bad. You know, over here in Britain, the economy is in a time of total austerity. You know, people are feeling the real hip pocket of the whole situation. So to hear, you know, just from a public optics perspective, that there's been millions paid out of the at least just out of the royal family in order to cover up Andrew is not boding well with the public at all. And that's not the first heckling that the king has received, and it certainly won't be the last, unfortunately, for him. But look, I mean, the king had a sort of place to play in this. He did have some sort of implication, in my opinion. I mean, I was just watching an interview with Andrew Lowney again, who's very versed on this, who said that, you know, the king actually did pay into that money pot that was given to Virginia Giuffre, as we spoke about earlier. So if that comes out as true, then who knows what can happen there. Now, people are even saying that, you know, there might potentially be us just skipping on to William just to avoid any of this, because he's at least further enough away from all this drama. But the monarchy, I don't think it's a scandal like this has not hit it for a very, very long time. And the fact that they paid off that alleged victim in order to potentially just make sure that the Queen's birthday celebrations for that year went smoothly just makes me think what actually has been covered up for all these years and what is really going on behind the scenes here.
Yeah, a lot of questions, and we just don't have the answers right now, but maybe we might eventually, should these characters appear at US Congress. We don't know. Samara Gill, it's been a pleasure having you on. I must say, buckle up, because things are about to get worse with these names dropping. Let's see where it ends. Samara, good to see you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Danica.